All right, well, welcome to a very special episode of Journey with Michael and Brian. We are privileged to have our first guest on tonight.
Oh, yes, we are. The wonderful Hannah.
Hannah, welcome.
Thank you, boys. Yeah, really happy to be here.
How you feeling?
Excited. A little bit nervous, but really looking forward to it. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you found the podcast so far?
Oh, really cool. Love how open you guys are, the depth of the topics that you're covering, your vulnerability. I think is probably one of the key themes for me.
Beautiful.
Special, like you guys. I love it. It's cool.
We love you.
We love you. Yes, we do. 100%.
Thank you.
So the podcast is called Journey because essentially what we want to do is, one, talk about our own journey, and two, just have people on to talk about their journey, talk about where they're at, just life and what's alive for them in the moment right now, and just sort of pull that thread and see where the conversation goes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Up for that.
I'd like to just start by pulling a thread by just naming how much of an awesome comedian you've become in such a short amount of time.
Oh, yes.
We've both had the pleasure to come watch a couple of your shows, and you're exquisite. I love watching your magic come alive so quick and so professional, and it's really amazing. So tell us about how you got into being a comedian. What's it doing for you? How's it helping you grow and everything in it?
Yeah, thanks. Well, thank you, first and foremost. Thanks for coming and watching me, but thank you also for those beautiful compliments. I guess comedy it's always been something close to me. It's a key value of mine. I just think, it's so close to tragedy, the Shakespearean comedy tragedy masks. And so it's good to sometimes take the piss out of life.
For sure. If we don't laugh, we cry.
This is it. And so, it's something I always kind of wanted to do. And I left my a 22-year relationship, which was obviously I'd spent my whole adult life with this beautiful human. And my mum passed away. And so I had this whole
Grief.
Oh, grief, loss, transformation, change, complete disruption of, terra firma, like where I stood.
Yeah, for sure.
Which was terrifying, but also really, really beautiful. I had lots of gifts, and comedy was one of them.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So coming out and having a voice, having something to say. My point of view is feminist. The world needs more of us, I think.
It's quite funny that you identify it that way, because I went and listened to one of Hannah's shows on Sunday night, and she delivered it so well. But in going into it, you were like, feminist, I have these very strong feminine views, and it's beautiful because they actually weren't strong, confronting, in your face, we need this, blah blah blah, this men are this, blah blah blah. It was more just the feminine expression of self, and just talking about how empowering it was, not trying to denigrate men or
no, totally. And thank you, because that's a conscious choice, and that's not how I think it's a feminist act to get on the stage anyway. And stand and speak, because it's it's something that women typically they're finding their voice, and that's really awesome. But it's quite a masculine art form, so that in itself I think is a feminist thing to do, but also to have a point of view. Not to put anyone else down, but to take the piss out of people. Which, is So certainly not. I've got two beautiful boys. I love men. I don't want to put them down, but I felt like I had something to say. I had a point of view, a strong point of view. Someone who'd left a marriage, had lived a white suburban lifestyle. Nothing wrong with that, but it was it wasn't for me. I kind of found myself coming through that and going, wow. Fuck, I've got something to say.
Beautiful. So do you think that's what defines feminism for you? Is you having a platform to express your voice? Yeah,
I think, equal opportunities, equity, being able to do things that might have been typically more masculine.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And not to say that you want to, do everything masculine, but I mean, there's things that typically women wouldn't have done. It just not that long ago. We're talking, 30 years ago. That was pretty. Even 20 years ago, it's pretty 30, pretty rare.
Yeah,
what's it like being a woman in a comedy scene, just entering it?
Actually, it's a very inclusive community.
Beautiful.
I think probably because, as I sort of said to you guys earlier, I think that comedy attracts people with trauma and people who want to talk about it. It's really therapeutic.
Beautiful.
So inherently with that, people are quite open and accepting. And it's a lovely scene. It's it's a really, really lovely scene, very supportive scene. And obviously great to go and watch, a cool vibe, everyone's expressing themselves.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. It's it definitely feels like a very creative, chaotic kind of scene or industry because of the characters that it does bring in. I mean, I love comedy. I love watching stand-up comedy, and you just see the real authentic of themselves, and that's what makes them even funnier. And you know, just the characters that it creates and draws in, I absolutely adore. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, I think if you look at it sort of metaphorically, almost, it's an expression of it's an outward expression of self on the stage on your own, with nothing but you to speak and to make people laugh, which is a pretty beautiful aspiration. Make people laugh, stand and show my vulnerability, and I think that's cool. But it's certainly chaotic. Unfortunately, it is in bars. You do get a certain energy from that scene. But it's certainly a cool. I do improv comedy as well. Which is comedy but in a team sport, which is and that's a really beautiful practice of being present. So is comedy. So it's got a spiritual, if you like, or a conscious, or certainly a therapeutic, because you can't be anywhere else but there, right?
What did it feel like when you froze up on stage? Because I really want to feel that with you. Because I'm not trying to bring it out for it to relive it, but it was such a powerful experience, right?
Oh, it was,
and I think people can really learn from other people who've gone through such powerful experiences like that. And so what did it feel like? Tell us the process of what happened within yourself and the process you used to get through it as well. I think it would be really, really amazing to hear.
So I've never taken notes on stage. And I usually prepare really well for my gigs. So both of those things are kind of I think key to quite good learning learning themes for what happened. So what Mike's talking about is I did a gig at the Classic, and I pride myself on being pretty flawless. But like I say, I don't take notes, so I'm a little bit arrogant, if you like. Everybody else does, and I'm arrogant in a more prideful, I don't need them.
Integrated way.
And I didn't prepare well for that gig. I hadn't slept well. I'd had, a couple of big nights and just, hadn't looked after myself, so I hadn't mentally prepared. And so, it was a incredibly excruciating experience to stand in a comedy club with, 60, 80 people and I just lost my way. So that was pretty tough. How did I get through? I stayed in the pause. I thought the worst thing I could do is walk off stage. And what I thought was really cool was the audience was really, they were there with me. They held me, and it was an experience we went through together. And I knew there was a thread, I had to pick it up. I knew once I got that thread, I'd be all right. So I sat at it.
Beautiful.
I stayed in the space, in the uncomfortable feeling, which,
it must have seemed like an eternity.
Oh, it was absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, I can't. Someone's got a video of it. I'm not ready to
watch it,
to look back. Yeah, but
I was so proud of you. Proud of you. I was at the back hall, cheering you on, keeping you up there.
Yeah.
But what I was so proud of with Hannah was that she just stayed in it. She didn't drop you didn't drop to any of your old material just to try and keep moving. You were there, you were working it out, you were holding it, you held it, and you got your brain fired back on again. It went through another little spot, and then you went through another patch, and then and you held it again, and you were just up there. You want to talk about feminism and resilience in its
Resilience.
finest form. It was just you on the stage up there, and someone who's constantly in front of people speaking and doing auctions and all that sort of things. It's happened to me before, but never on that scale. But so I can only empathise with how it was, and you just bossed it. It was a beautiful to witness of your growth and just holding that space.
Thanks. Thank you. I certainly didn't feel that way, and the next day was rough, really, really rough. But it gave me an opportunity to unpack what was around that. Like, really, who gives a fuck? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. In the scheme of things, it doesn't matter. But to me, it did, and I what was that about? I think probably the most the most upsetting or frustrating thing was that I didn't prepare. In a way that I lost respect for it. I thought that I'll so it's a bit of a kick on the ass for that.
For sure.
Which is always a nice thing to learn, right? Yeah. Stay present, stay humble, stay open to still learning. You don't want to think you've mastered something, you've got it, and you've, because you never do. No. And respect it. Respect what you're...
Continually having that white belt mentality.
Yeah.
Every time you go in there, it's like your first time, because you're always going to learn something new, right?
Absolutely.
It's a sword that you're always going to have to continue to keep sharpening.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then you're just going to start getting...
And that's like with anything.
Digressing.
You can take that lesson into lots of things in your life, like... have respect for what you do, and because one day you might not have it anymore, or I've always managed to flawlessly deliver my comedy, and took that for granted.
So what do you think was the reason why it became a little less respected or a little less for granted? Given that it's so passionate of yours.
Yeah, probably because I just thought I was really good at it.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, and that
the universe goes, here's a bit of humble pie.
Laugh at this.
I'm going to make you stand up there and have no words.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened in front of my family who were over from England. Like, you couldn't have got there was 20 people in the audience that I had personally invited. Oof. So it was a nice...
Do you think that added a little bit of pressure?
Yeah.
Do you think it maybe because you had those people there, you maybe potentially didn't prepare for it?
Yeah, I think I was just... Yeah, potentially. I was in my ego. Yeah. I was totally in my ego, which is an interesting place, as we all know, to be.
For sure.
And it was a nice little reminder of that.
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Something you could have smashed it.
Yeah.
Because you were going in there extremely confident, but hey, look, you took the gamble. It didn't pay off.
Yeah.
Needed the slap, needed the lesson.
Yeah.
So how did you recover from that after? So going back on to the stage, have you been back on the stage since?
Actually, a crucial thing that I think was influencing my state of mind was the next day was spreading my mum's ashes.
Yeah.
So I think that had played out more. I just hadn't thought about it. I thought, whatever, as you do. Like, that's fine. I hadn't actually acknowledged how emotional that would be. Because until the next day, I was like, "Whoa, fuck! This is heavy. This is actually a big thing."
Is that something that you think you kind of like avoided right to the last minute to actually sit with? And
definitely,
because you can sense the build up, right? You said that you've cut a few big nights out or weekends out beforehand, and it was right to the crunch. I think there's massive lesson in that, and feeling into what needs to be felt, or we'll just avoid it and we will do external things to not feel it.
Yeah, again, another nice lesson, a really sharp reminder of how you can fool yourself, how you self-deception. Because I've asked myself that. I'm, fairly conscious. I try my best, but I'm human too. But I definitely had a conversation with myself, numerous ones, about how I felt about it, and I hadn't read or understood actually how full on it was.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful lessons.
Yeah.
Beautiful lessons.
Yeah.
And how did you sort of recover from that, going back onto stage again? Was there any fear of it happening again or anything like that? You made sure you prepared? Like, what was the process like the next time you went up on stage?
Yeah, well, I went up quickly, so that happened on the Saturday. I went back on the Wednesday.
Oh, nice.
Because, you've got to get back on the horse and all that. And I did. I prepared. I looked after myself. I had notes in my pocket. I did all the things that were... respecting it and looking after myself, showing sort of self-care for my art and what I was going out and doing, which I think is pretty badass anyway.
Shit, yes. Yeah. Oh my God.
Tough.
So
I could not do it. I couldn't do it. I don't even think I would put myself in this situation.
Tell us a joke, Ryan. Tell us a joke.
No, no.
You've got to be funny.
I'm not a funny guy. I'm not a plain funny guy. And I totally respect it, because I know, even just like going to the gig the other night and watching you and watching all the other people beforehand, just seeing how brutal people can be when people are even just there to entertain you. You know, they're literally there to entertain people. Like, that was shit, mate. I'm not going to laugh at that.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm like, I honor and respect the people that are out there, and even a joke that, I suppose, wasn't funny, for me it was still hilarious because of the context of everything that's actually going on.
Yeah. No, I think it's like any art thing or hobby, or it has its tropes and kind of characteristics, and flat jokes is part of comedy. It just is, you know, and you get used to it, which is resilience and, you know, a nice little because you get over it. Like all the comedians that I talked to afterwards, I was like, I had a bad gig. They said, no, bad gig's getting no laughs. That's shit. You just, don't worry about it. Like, it's part of life. Like, it's not going to, and forget it and move on. You got to just get back at it, and you get more resilient. Like people, you have jokes that don't land, and you get over it. So I guess it desensitizes you, and that external validation. Yeah. That we all seek, which has actually been a lesson for me recently, a really, really strong one, of how much I seek, validation and acceptance and love externally.
Yeah. Where were you learning that lesson from?
Oh, men. They're always a good teacher.
Yeah, for sure.
Amongst other things. So it's through men, mainly, but other things too. I guess when so being 2 decades in a relationship from 18 to 40.
Yeah.
And, and that being such a defining part of who I was, and, and then you start exploring relationships, and Jesus, there wasn't fucking Facebook when I was dating, Maybe you'd text message each other, but that was about it. And,
surely phones, they wouldn't have been having text messages. I suppose 20 years ago, maybe just mobile phones were coming around.
For the advanced people, right? Ahead of my time.
Ponsonby Housewives was still around back then.
Exactly.
Let's get on the landline.
Exactly. That's right. So, no Tinder, no. It was something I've really noticed in this dating age, is the disposability of people.
Really?
The ghosting bullshit and that's been an interesting journey. Because it seems so convenient now, so easy to meet people, that you've got to, you've got to be prepared that things are fast moving. You have situationships, you have, which I'm cool with as well, but it's definitely so you get into that game, it's like a validation thing.
And it's just seeing that, right? And then that's a part of yourself that is doing that. And then honouring whether you want to continue to do that or not. If you want to make the choice to stay. And I think that's kind of the first part of just kind of awakening yourself to things, right?
I've been reasonably lucky that I've never really had to even download one of those apps before.
I haven't met anyone on that. Can I just say? I've got 7 sort of hookups, and 5 of them have abs, and 0 of them is like 6-packs, like not baby, like 6-packs.
So full.
Thank you.
The awakening of Hannah's sexual awakening. I love it. Yeah. So good.
And 0 on apps, so that's I don't think I'm doing too bad.
Well done.
Yeah.
But I think that's definitely been the whole external validation and how that plays out. You can be aware of it, but you still it doesn't mean that you're not, awareness isn't always, you don't get the lesson for a while. Your intellectual mind doesn't go, fuck that shit, who cares?
You can be aware of everything and take action on nothing, and nothing will change.
That's true. I do think awareness is the first step, though. Yeah. I think you can't change anything if you're not aware of it. So you have to, awareness is always good because it's a move in the right
direction.
Well,
you don't know where to take your action step. You don't know what path, because you don't know what port you're sailing to.
Yeah.
So you don't know what wind to catch to where you go. So the awareness is the first key. But then it's what you do with that awareness.
Yeah.
It's like going through plant medicine journeys or whatever. You can get the downloads, and then go and do absolutely fuck all with them. And then what was the point? It wasn't. It's just the action and the choice and what you're going to do.
Yeah. So sometimes I find there's a lag between the intellectual sort of awareness and the feeling. You can be conscious in your mind, aware of something, but actually doing it and acting on it and feeling it in your heart, and that's for me where it needs to land.
Yeah.
So when I feel that, and that aligns, where I'm like, I know something, and I'm also able to practice it because I feel it too.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And that's just because for most people we are taught how to intellectualize everything.
Yeah.
We're never really taught how to feel into an emotion or how to use feelings as a guide, to help us direct where the wind goes. Feelings can be like the sail, it can be the thing that moves around as the wind goes. And if we're just trying to think about or intellectualize things all the time, then we can actually miss what the body, the innate intelligence that the body is trying to serve us.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So embodying, I guess, your beliefs, not just thinking them, is super important. And that cognitive dissonance of noticing, I feel this way about something, but I'm acting in that way, that's not a good place to be in. So, external validation has been a theme in that, sort of going, okay, beautiful. Well, what's that about? But a beautiful gift, right? An opportunity to unpack some shit and... and where does that come from? Of course, you lift the rug and then
you understand.
There's something else, and then there's something else, and there's something else, and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm back at my childhood. Whoa. How did this happen? God, that's really wrong. Yeah.
Or our parents fucked us up,
That's it.
That's what it comes down to. That's the universal joke. You talk to any...
No matter what they do or who they try to be, they're going to fuck us up in some way, right?
Oh, of course.
Because they'll only ever give us the love that they can give us, not the love that we need.
Yeah, and the love that they are capable, that they're able to give first and foremost themselves.
From their level, right?
Yeah.
There's a great quote that says, "Trauma's not your fault, but healing is your responsibility." And that's such a powerful words. It was a very deep download when I stumbled upon this quote 4 or 5 years ago, just kind of on the start of my inward journey, and it's stuck with me ever since. And it's such a powerful reminder. It's like, the trauma's not your fault. You went through it, got given to you, but holding on to it, well, that's your choice.
Yeah.
And this is why we are all here, just speaking so openly about anything and everything, in the hopes that, hey, there might be someone that just hears something and they can go, oh, okay, well, there's a bit of a path I can go and try and see if I can do something.
Yeah.
Do some healing.
I think that I think along the same vein, this quote's one of my favourite, as well as Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. Beautiful book. Beautiful book. Survived the Holocaust, was at Auschwitz, suffered some of the worst traumas ever, and still, and sort of said, in between stimulus and response is a pause, and that's your power. So it's echoing some of what you were saying about the trauma being the stimulus. Your response is still how if you choose to heal, is your choice, and that's where your power lies. And not staying in that victim role or. So he tells this beautiful story of how humans, when they're under extreme stress and starvation, watching their loved ones die, all that stuff, and they resort to some bad shit, stealing off each other, lying, cheating, just real kind of debased, inhumane behaviours. And he never did, and the thing that kept him there was his choice. It was making a
the choice.
decision.
Yeah.
When you've got nothing else, you still have your own choices
and your own integrity.
Yeah, people can't take that away from you, but you can allow it to be taken away from you. To be treated like an animal and then just allow yourself to turn into it like that. That I suppose is your choice. Yeah,
unless you'd have less healing to do, right? Because you wouldn't have done horrible things. They can't take that power away from you. So.
Beautiful book.
Yeah, great book. I see all your books down here. I've read most of them.
She's read most of them.
Yeah. Books are amazing. I'm a massive reader. I love books. What
are some of your favourite books?
Well, my I've got a few. It's actually a big question to ask. Dare I say it? I'm into the classics. I like Wuthering Heights is one of my favourite. Bronte, beautiful book, really beautiful book. Like Great Expectations, Charles Dickens, but the spiritual books the Tao Te Ching. I love it. I mean, it's not really something you read overnight. It's a heavy book.
Yeah.
But beautiful book. The Alchemist, which you've got down there, is one of my favourites. The Prophet, Khalil Gibran. That's a really beautiful book. I could go on and on about books.
That's why you're such the writer, right? The creator, because you do read a lot. It was the first thing I when I first met you, I noticed about you was just your books and your reading.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that. Actually, I read recently that often that hypervigilance around language, which I have. So, be careful with spelling mistakes in text messages to me.
Don't talk to Ryan about that.
God. There's certain people that I can, I've got better, but I have, a bit of a hypervigilance around language. And they've actually, there's some research supporting that's a trauma response.
Interesting.
Yeah, from your childhood.
Continual.
That damn childhood. It's coming back.
Again.
It's like, you know that Scooby-Doo meme? It's like, I know who's under here. And they pull up my childhood.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I know what the problem is. My childhood.
You pesky childhood. There you go again. No, absolutely. So hypervigilance around language like that. And I think that might be connected to wanting to have a voice, to wanting to be really super selective with the words that you use and things.
Yeah, beautiful.
Which I thought was an interesting correlation.
I guess when it comes down to control again, if you are having your power taken away through abuse or different things, you are still, depending on how young you are, you are then making a choice to go, well, they can't control what I speak when I'm not in their presence, so let's go and articulate everything.
That's spot on. I think that's probably probably exactly where it's at. So I'm trying to loosen up on the grammar.
Ask for a birthday card from Ryan every year.
Just keep texting me. Honestly, maybe read my content. I don't know. Just anything that I write. I'm sure you probably read some of the emails I may have sent out for the beta newsletter and things like that. No, that's perfect.
No, I've switched.
No, that's a no. She didn't read them.
Actually, don't date me because I'm a bitch in that way.
Why?
I'm gonna whisper sweet nothings. You better fucking make damn sure you've got good grammar and spelling. Okay.
There you go, gentlemen.
Dirty told me was bad fucking grammar. Have a wide vocab.
If you'd like to go on a date with Hannah, you need to be impeccable with your vocabulary.
Do. Yeah, watch out.
Have you ever broken up with anyone because they've got bad vocabulary?
Oh, look, it's definitely been the difference between meeting them for a date or not. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
You couldn't pick up anyone on an app.
No, I don't.
Because the grammar would be horrific.
Absolutely. I think it would.
Imagine if you got a match and then they just went sup.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. No. Instant delete,
What if he's the hottest man in the world, though, Hannah?
It's just, you got to spell. Like, I'm just sorry. Like,
Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Intelligence is a key attraction of mine, I think.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. And not just, I must say, it's not just spelling. You get good spellers out there who are dicks, so it's a fucking hard ask, right?
It's a hard ask.
Yeah,
they got to tick all the boxes.
Absolutely, yeah. Probably being emotionally available is probably my most important one now because I've got a track record of completely emotionally unavailable guys.
Well, what does that mean? Because that could be quite a good little thread to pull right now because there's such subjective. What would you say? Subjective objectives of what does emotionally unavailable mean? What does emotionally available mean? Like, what does it mean to you?
Probably someone who's got the who's able to come from a place of a connection to their emotions, able to talk about them, and being available in the sense that they're able to be available in an emotional relationship with you. Physical availability is very different, in my opinion. And in fact, people can be really physically available and completely emotionally unavailable. So they're not willing to show up and emotionally or vulnerably, and and hold space for where, you know, you might be at on a boundaries, talk about their boundaries. Have a commitment to being emotionally mature and respectful, and that's I have a track record of attracting men that
aren't that.
Yeah, either might be present but they're not physically present, but not emotionally
present. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's a safety thing, right? It's trust.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't feel safe in emotionally available scenarios. So that's, you know, and more learning again.
Yeah, more learning, and that's a good thing for you to understand, right? It's like you know what you desire, but the thing in which you desire doesn't actually feel safe for you because it's not known, right?
Yeah, and you attract what you, or you know this, you might consciously think something, but if your subconscious beliefs sitting underneath that conflict with that, you'll attract what's really there, which is I actually don't want to show up either because I'm probably not worthy. There we go. So hey, I'll attract guys who are never going to be able to go there with me either.
Is that something that you want? You want to go down that divine union route?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, I would probably have to do a bit of work on, because again, the gifts of these recent situations are that it teaches me a lot about myself, and that I'm actually not good at doing it either. I'm emotionally unavailable too. Jesus, there I said it.
There we go. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, emotionally unavailable. That's right here.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say fully, right? And then that can be quite easy to be hard on yourself in those situations, because sometimes we don't see it all. Like you can't see the full picture when you're inside the frame.
Yeah. Oh yes, totally. Actually, that's a Johari window. Have you heard of Johari window?
No, I've heard that saying, but I don't know.
So it's like a matrix. On the one hand, how you know yourself.
Yeah.
And on the other, how others know you. And so you've got the self that you know and others know. The self that only others know. Only others know and you don't know. The self that you know and others don't know. And then the really interesting part is the self that neither you nor others know. It's the sort of hidden part of the self, which is an interesting concept.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's just an opportunity to explore that, right?
Yeah.
Like we're all learning to explore the parts of ourselves we haven't yet discovered.
Yeah.
You know, because of the conditioning, because of the things that have happened to us, because of the perception we have of others and the perception in which we perceive they have on us, right?
Yeah,
and that
totally.
is the deconditioning of the mind. That's where you're actually starting to feel into your felt self, starting to trust your own intuition, starting to trust your own innate intelligence in knowing who you are, you know, starting to allow yourself to feel safe enough to truly drop into who you are.
Yeah, not getting attached to the stories either, because they are often...
Well, it's not even attached. It's losing the identity of the stories.
Yeah.
It's even deeper than that. It's far deeper than attachment. The stories, when we take people through personal law, actually we did personal law on a few podcasts back, and the story, I mean, some of the shit that comes out when we do it with clients, I asked them, I say, would you even say any of this to someone you fucking hated? And they would just look at it and go, no.
Yeah.
So why are you now, knowing this, going to continue to hold on to these things that are literally playing loops in your mind of these programs and stories that have been given to you? And people weep when they see these things. And it's just about, you know, making that awareness, shift it through, and then seeing what you want to speak to yourself about.
Yeah, you get curious about it, don't you? You ask yourself those questions. So back to this sort of external validation thing and the dating thing, and the, you know, you see yourself doing these behaviours and go, well, you know, what's going on? And you know, getting curious, not furious. Don't get angry at yourself. Ask yourself what's going on. What's happening here? And you keep sort of asking those questions, and you get deeper and deeper and deeper, and see that it's a core wound of, you know, these really deep core wounds. And underneath them are things like, and they tend to be quite similar in theme between people, is I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable.
Yep.
You know, really fundamentally, it's like along those lines, very similar sort of expressions of that same feeling, which is deeply sad. But you can be completely unaware that that's what's driving it.
Yeah. You know? And then it's about changing that story, right?
Yeah.
And not then creating a story around, oh, I have this story.
Yeah.
The journey is yes, creating awareness, but then it's the action that Mike talks about.
Yeah.
Because what you actually have to start doing is showing up in a way that proves that story wrong over and over and over and over and over and over again until that script's no longer written, until you no longer believe it, until it's no longer a neural pathway in your mind that links every time certain situations happen, because you've reconditioned your way of being so many times.
Conditioning your nervous system to totally shift.
To no longer react instantly.
Using the depth of rebirthing plant medicines to know that that's just that moment in time for you to scoop and get to root causes. And once you put your light and do some scooping, and then now you're then moving and catching what you're saying and thinking and trying and over and over and over, like Ryan was just saying, to change that script. And it all works and all.
And until you do that, you can stop the behaviour. So I've been, had a number of self-destructive behaviours in my life. Alcoholism, drug addiction, sex work when I was younger, eating disorders, self-harming, a suicide attempt. Like, I'm a fucking nice mixed bag of traumas and self-harming behaviour. But you look at that and go, so I stop one behaviour and go, I'm over that. And then another one pops up and I'm like, oh shit, what's going on here? It's been similar with the men in my life as being, just having no boundaries, allowing things that I just wouldn't normally, I wouldn't have thought that I would have allowed, but here I am doing it.
Well, you wouldn't have learned boundaries getting to sex work so young. At that age.
Well, if you have any, you have to get rid of them.
Yeah,
of course you do, because you actually have to actively deconstruct what are really, really safe boundaries around your body.
Well, your survival is hand in hand with the payment of the sex act.
The act.
And so, when you were forced to go into it, 16, 17 years old, that's such a young age for you to just have to create that mechanism of
you wouldn't even understand what boundaries are, and then you're having them what your body innately knows as a boundary just completely shattered away.
Totally. And then that then comes disassociation. So then you're actually out of your body.
And that's why you move into logic, into language, into communication. It's all in your mind because it's so unsafe in your body.
Totally. And once you've done that, it's very hard to come back. That's a journey in itself too, is that feeling.
It's been a beautiful journey to witness you over the last, would have been probably, it's over 2 years now, isn't it? 2.5 years since we did our first breathwork together, to continually shift through that. It really has, for some of us, it's just a lot thicker and a lot deeper swamp to go through, and that's whatever we've chosen. And you're just you're doing it so well, and even just to sit there and name the things, name the sex work, name the self-harm, name the suicide attempt, name the drug use, name the shitty men, toxic men, without even blinking an eye.
That's powerful.
That's fucking powerful, because we can overlook these things because they become simply not a part of us anymore. But there's going to be a lot of people that will be listening to this, a lot of women who will be very fucking empowered by that.
Oh, that's really, really awesome. So actually, thanks. And that, again, is a conscious thing about talking about my experiences being really open. A big part of that is because Brene Brown said it actually, that shame needs, if you put shame in a petri dish, it would need certain conditions to survive. And secrecy is one of them. And so when you don't, when you keep things to yourself, you don't share them, you don't talk about them, you don't own them, you're encouraging shame. And I'm not saying everybody.
Shame.
You're creating shame. Now I'm not saying everybody needs to express that. Some people still, have a different way of talking about. I'm really open, but not owning it and expressing it is, I think, So I'm actively doing that, and I'm actually wanting to write a series of short stories.
You are writing a series.
You are writing. You read us.
You want to. You fucking are.
You sent us the first.
Come on, don't be so modest.
No, thanks. And that I think, and that actually, and purposely in a series of short stories or vignettes.
Beautiful.
which are a style of short story that they're still part of a broader family of stories. So that's short stories technically mean that they're just standalone stories, but vignettes actually they're short stories, but they actually tell a bigger story put together. And I've chosen that form intentionally because of the fragmentation of memory. When when we think about our past and things that have happened to us, and in particular traumatic ones, they're actually often they are, because of how your brain processes them, are stored in fragments.
Yep, that's how memory works.
Yeah, and trying to put it back together.
It creates.
You can't really put a whole story back together, but you can piece certain pieces together.
Yeah.
Well, that's why 5 people can look at the same car crash and all have 5 different stories.
Yeah. Well, afterwards, on reflection, of course, because memory is remembering. And every time you remember a memory, it becomes different. Yeah. So that, and again, with trauma, it's actually because you're not using your normal memory, the parts of your brain for memory. When you're in deep trauma, you're really in your reptilian sort of brain, so you're remembering things in a very disorganized way. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's an interesting concept when we look back at our, past and trauma and things like that.
What are you writing about?
Actually, all my sexual experiences, which have the good and the bad, and often they're both at once. Because I think pleasure can be so closely aligned with perversion, some ways, with sex, or what's one person's pleasure is another's perversion.
Definitely.
And what I found interesting is having a childhood sort of some sexual abuse things, and being very protective of my body. I've actually found a enjoyment with restraint, which some would think, but it's actually kind of so I find that fascinating, that whole concept around what turns people on.
Yes.
Well, we went to a shibari reptile class together.
We did. Very hot.
It was amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, it was great. I loved going there, and it was something that I wanted to. I mean, I've been trying to learn off YouTube by myself, and I just needed the.
The amount of times I've walked into Mike's room and he has the chair tied up is ridiculous.
It can be hard to explain to someone who wasn't.
And Laura, I'm there. I'm like tying up my own leg or something. It was. It was really fun to get that lesson.
You did really well. Like, you took to it. Didn't take you very long to sort of get your knots together and your ties sorted.
Like you went to Scouts, definitely.
Yeah. Was it? So that was an interesting. That's a beautiful art practice. But again, it's not for everybody, right? And
well, as you're saying, you enjoy the restraint.
Yeah, but to a point, like there would be a point where it became, and it's like that with intimate experiences too, and particularly when they nudge on trauma. So something can feel really good, and then it can feel really bad. And conversely, you can be in a situation where you don't want to be having it, but your body can betray you, and it can become, you can actually have a response,
a re-experience,
or even a pleasurable response.
Yeah,
So
and then that can create shame in the body as well, right?
Yeah.
And shame around a story and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and sex is such a big part of our lives. Our sexual selves are such a big part of our lives. Yeah. But it's a very intimate part of your life that permeates everything. It's how you show up on the planet. So, but being a woman or a man, but in my case, a woman, not connected to that for so long because I disassociated, that when you find yourself back there, it's full noise. It's beautiful. I was creative. I wanted to write. I wanted to perform. I felt I was music. I was just on it. Like, it was like, wow, I felt this real deep opening up of myself, which was so awesome. And I want to share the experiences that have got me there. Some of the things that just a woman's journey as a sexual being.
Yeah, beautiful.
Do you know what you're going to call it yet?
I've been playing with names.
Oh, yeah.
And currently it sits. I don't know whether this is where it'll land, but object. Which is
beautiful, sister.
Layers of meaning. I object, but also I'm an object.
Oh, beautiful. And it's just the way in which it's that sentence is written and perceived. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Love it.
Use of grammar, of course.
Wow, of course.
Commas are important.
Would you put a full stop at the end?
No. Because that's not where the story ends, because I'm not an object.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah, so no full stop. I think that's how women often experience sex as being, and if you look at porn, I'm writing a story at the moment about the first time I saw porn.
Yep.
And it's from the male gaze. So women are, and I'm not saying porn is necessarily bad. I'm just stating how I think it's my observations are, it is from the male gaze. It's typically looking down at women. They're always up for it. They'll do anything. They never say no. And I had this curious sort of experience of thinking, when I saw that woman on the screen, like I was probably about 7 or 8,
wow.
And it was a deep section, like it was a porn film, and the woman was, legs splayed, fucking going for it, 3 guys or whatever the fuck it was, and I remember wondering what happened to all women, and would I have to do that, and she seemed so dehumanized. I thought, I wonder if she's got a handbag, or does she wear pajamas? Does she go to the bathroom?
Wow.
Does she go shopping? Because she seemed dehumanized, objectified, an object, not a person.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the whole precedence of it. Let's dehumanize it so we can go straight to the deeper reptilian type responses in the brain, and let's just overact it. I mean, at the end of the day, nothing's real about it. It's just overacting and it is, certainly the porn of the day that I was stealing Dad's 1970s porno mags to what kids can access now for free is a vast difference.
Absolutely.
It is. It's very. It's very
unreal.
Unreal, yes, exactly right. There's lots of unreality. It's very hardcore, very hardcore.
But it's often in fact, the story's called Sex Education because it often, and even more so now because it's so accessible, it often is that's what's educating people about sex.
Well, that's where I learned.
That's what you see. It's where I learned.
That's where I learned watching porn. Yep.
Yeah, and I think that's still happening. Like we're not, talking about.
But they're learning from this next level. Totally unreal.
Oh, absolutely.
Porn. It's not there's
no hair. There's no, there's.
Well, and I think that's
amazing.
When you talk about sex education, right, in schools, they're not actually educating you on something. What they're actually trying to do is scare you away from the act.
Yeah.
They're not actually teaching you about boundaries, about communication, about like pleasure and understanding anatomy. And imagine if they actually, I don't know, it's such an interesting thing to navigate because there could be so many ways of looking at it. But if you actually knew what this sexual experience was and the power that it had, you'd have such a greater respect for it instead of just thinking it's about ejaculation.
Or just such an objective act that's just, a procreation and be afraid of that too from day one. So here's a bunch of condoms and let's not learn how to actually take some breath or slow down or actually, be a little more conscious. And
we're not going to teach some children about Tantra, Mike. Come on.
Well,
yeah.
What are you talking about, children?
All roads lead to Tantra.
All roads lead to Tantra.
Yeah, which is
there's some breath in there too.
Totally, because you're right that there's no connection there. That's not about connection. This kind of sex we're talking about. And you're right. Actually, it's a really interesting concept that it's about scaring them. And so that you have this weird thing that everybody does,
but no one talks about.
No one talks about.
Everybody's here because of it.
Exactly.
Literally.
And it's one of its latest experiences of life. It's absolutely beautiful. When you can, and you shouldn't be ashamed. You shouldn't be. It's a deep energetic connection between people, and connecting to that energy, your sexual power, and that can be a personal thing as well. You don't always need somebody else along. Is a powerful, creative, beautiful experience that we should all be.
Pulling the thread.
But when you look at that and when you explain it that way, it makes sense that they don't want to teach us that.
Yeah,
because that's empowering.
That's right.
You have sexual control over the sexuality. You have control over the people. The church knew that.
Yeah,
2,000 years ago.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely, yeah.
So it's been demonized.
Let's kill the paganism. Let's, all of their beautiful ritual acts and all the openness and community. Oh yeah, well, let's take that away. And
let's whack a whole bunch of taboo across it and make people feel bad and
shame.
Yeah, shame. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's been a really personal. I'm by no means ending it. Thank God. I've got a way to go. Yay.
Can't wait to read it. Oh, can't wait.
Stop.
So, to everyone listening, we got sent was it the first full vignette?
Yes.
Or was it just one page? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was the first one.
So Ryan and I were very privileged to have read it. I don't think anyone else actually got a copy, or maybe a couple of others. But however,
no, it's a very small circle.
yes, and we read it, and I was absolutely blown away. It was so vivid and amazing, and just the way that you articulated. I won't say about the actual event because I will leave that for people to go read in the book. However, you just felt like you were right there.
You were there.
You could feel the breath on your neck, and you could feel the room getting smaller. It was very well done.
Thanks. I think, and it was good to put that down on paper, and write about it. I'm really grateful that you received it like that. That was and it's actually in quite a hard clinical voice, or very raw, very descriptive. Because that's also intentional, because I think that's important to, I guess not romance, like be real, be raw. And that's also what memory's like. So the whole thing is a kind of artistic expression of memory,
For sure.
and looking back and reflection, and, putting it together to make a whole.
Yeah.
You're just trying to put together the words of the feeling that still lives in your body. The memory isn't quite there. The feeling's actually recreating the memory because it's such a...
Yeah, but me owning it, which I think is empowering as well. I'm saying it and how I want to, how I perceived it, and that makes that sense making for me, and putting a journey together, and and understanding how those pieces fit together to get to sort of where I'm at now, which feels so much more. I wouldn't even talk about sex before. It felt like such a, I was in this relationship for 2 decades, and it just, that wasn't a feature, really. Or it certainly didn't play a very strong part.
Yeah.
And that was mostly influenced by me, because I just I didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, beautiful.
I can barely believe that now, but that's how I lived, and so it's nice to be reconnected and to own that, put those pieces together and own where I'm at, and
and truly owning it.
Yeah.
Truly owning it, like owning everything, and you're just you're just on the journey of really discovering who you are, deconditioned, right?
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's expressive. It's creative. It's fucking hilarious. She's also a badass woman in the business world as well. My God.
Why, thanks.
Yeah. And in that process, you just fuck up along the way, and you learn, and then you just go again, and then you have some wins, and then you don't. And
I
love watching it.
It's nice to be able to tell, because I used to think I was the only woman in my case that felt like that, but so many women do. It's really nice to open up and have those conversations, and
beautiful.
Men obviously have their stories too, which is super important. But I think just sharing those, a real honesty of some of the highlights of experiences sexually that have shaped some of my beliefs now, that have, as I say, I've been unravelling, most particularly in the last couple of years, which has been huge. So that feels, if one person reads it and goes, shit, yes, not just me, or something clicks, then that's really awesome.
Beautiful. That's empowering.
Thank you.
It's an embodiment, like you were talking about at the start.
Yeah.
Fully.
Yeah, another flavour of it. Yeah, for sure.
So if you could leave or create one message, one paragraph, one poem, one joke right now that you would love to have other women, other men, anyone in between hear, what would you say?
Wow, that's a big question, because there's quite a few. But I'd probably choose the one that I've tattooed on my body, because it feels a bit rude not to, but also because I feel strongly aligned to it. And so when I had a suicide attempt when I was 15, and I slit my wrist.
Yep.
So I had 41 stitches down one wrist, which was, looking back now, a real cry for help. I just was, deep.
Did you really want to kill yourself?
I did at the time, absolutely. Yeah. In fact, always in my life that's been an option. Every house I've lived in, I've known I know how I would do it.
Yeah.
Rafters, a particular car, where the hose would be. It's always been a plan, or I've always had enough sleeping pills.
Yeah.
Only up until recently, actually, probably the last 5 years that I haven't had that in my life. as a sort of safety net. So that's definitely been an ongoing theme. And but when I did in this particular, this is the most serious attempt. Actually, I haven't necessarily attempted, but as I say, thought about it and planned it.
You've done it enough times in your head.
Yeah, totally. But this was, getting my...
What got you to the point of actually doing it?
Actually, drugs at this stage. I was living with a black power prospect selling tinnies, marijuana, and in a very, very dangerous situation with lots of violence, anger, and I don't want to say evil, but I think, people who are in very, a lot of really traumatized people who were violent, and that was scary, and drugs were around, and we had a lot of drugs, and I just got to the point where I think I developed, I'm not sure a psychosis would be the right term, but certainly something that had me in a very, very unhealthy mental state of mind.
For sure.
And I seriously thought that ending it would be the best way out.
Yep.
So sitting in this A&E hospital, my parents had decided not to come. They were really cross with me and hurt, and so didn't come. So the doctor was stitching my wrist up, and obviously I think he felt quite sorry about it.
For sure.
And he was an Asian doctor, and he sort of kept nodding his head, and it was these bright blue stitches as well. Not sure why blue, but anyway, they were. Really vivid scene I can recall now, actually. And he kept sort of nodding and tutting and sighing, and then sort of towards the end he looked up at me and said, I'm just going to tell you one thing that I hope you remember, and it's actually the key to life, but it's simple. So it's simple, so you should remember it. It's 10 words, and it's so simple. It rhymes, and there's no more than 2 letters in each word, so you should be able to remember this. Okay. And he said, if it is to be, it is up to me. Which I thought was a beautiful,
I'm gonna fucking cry. God,
I thought at the time, what the hell's this weirdo on about, but it stuck with it. Did he was right? It stuck. I mean, it rhymed. It's easy.
Yeah.
And so I got that tattooed on my other wrist. It was my first tattoo.
Beautiful.
Because back to Mike's original question, what would be the phrase, or what would be the poem, or what would be the quote, or what would that? It would be that.
Say it one more time for us.
If it is to be, it is up to me.
It's to be, it's up to me.
And what's your created meaning for that now?
That you've always got a choice. Of course, I believe in a higher power. I believe in the universal energy. I believe in, source and love and light. Of course, I do. But we are expressing ourselves in this human form, with our minds, with our ego, with free will. And so you make your own story, like we were talking about before, with trauma healing. That's a choice. That's
100%.
I think that
goes back to the story in Auschwitz as well, right?
Yeah,
it all came down to his choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's the same thing. All these things have got the same lesson, but just expressed in different ways. And I thought that was a really lovely.
What an angel, that doctor. What?
Totally. Yeah.
Like what an absolute angel.
Yeah.
The amount of people that have gone through his trauma ER just that night alone.
Yeah.
And in that moment, those words are what came out of his mouth and landed for you, and from there, you didn't try again.
Yeah, no, and he saw something in me. It was human empathy.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It was empathy. He had, it could have been more different from me. With different genders, different ages, different nationalities. But he saw sadness. He saw and he cared, and I thought that was beautiful. To say angels, I think he's one of them. You look back and reflect on your life about the people that have come into your life, and these beautiful signposts. Sometimes people you never see again, but if someone might give you a book.
Yep.
You
just drop off the lesson, the message.
Yeah.
And then you're on their merry way.
Do you think you guys are that for other people? Can you think of? Because I try and be that. I think if I'm a signpost for someone,
Yeah.
If I'm that beautiful Chinese soul, that doctor who then, wow.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
What a cool thing.
No, for me personally, no, because there's still resistance within me of I suppose fully showing up or like having to verbalize and verbalize the journey I'm on, or even like honoring where I'm at. I know where I'm at, but yeah, like seeing that as the mission. It isn't the mission, but it just happens anyway.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you for sure you're a signpost whether you like it or not, because you're such a beautiful soul, and the way you live your life is so beautiful and empathetic and warm and heart-centered and all those things that you for sure you've someone seen you, and you know without you even probably consciously know it, might not be with a phrase or but showing up for people in a kind, empathetic, human way can change people's lives.
Yeah.
You know, looking at homeless people when you walk down, just looking them in the eye.
Yeah, definitely.
Is probably, you know, I mean, well, it's not a bad thing. I mean, how can that be bad? But I think it can also be quite life changing. Yeah,
definitely. Sometimes it can just be the small words or conversations you have with people in the moment when you're just truly present with them, even if you've only ever just met them.
Yeah.
And it may just be a passing comment, a smile in the street, saying one sentence and moving on with your day that really can have an impact on someone's life.
Absolutely.
Well, I know, just reflecting on while you're talking then, I know it's happened to me.
For sure.
But it's not the actual person or the event that I remember. It's the way they made me feel.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, you do.
That's why it's in the body. I feel seen. There's a trust. Someone smiled at me. They looked me in the eye, or they might have shaken my hand, or they gave me a hug rather than shake my hand. Something.
Yeah.
It's not the people. It's the feeling. And I think I'll carry on from Ryan's answer a little bit, and what you asked, do you guys feel like that you are for people? And I'm sure there would be, because the way that I and Ryan as well work, it's how safe can we make people feel?
Yeah.
How can we empower them to be their best self?
Yeah.
That's the mission for us.
Oh, you're my signpost. These beautiful souls have shown up in my life, and so we had this deep experience the other day of Rebirth Breathwork.
You showed up.
But you guys held that space, and there's been numerous times we've had some real deep experiences together, and that's exactly what you do, which is just it's magic, it's special, it's beautiful, and it's authentic.
That's what tribe and communitas is all about, baby.
That's what it's all about.
We bring them in.
Together we rise.
Oh yeah. Everybody rises as the tide rises.
Yeah,
so do we.
Yes.
Everyone.
Beautiful, very, very special. So thank you.
Thank you too.
Well, dear sister, just want to honour you and thank you so much for showing up tonight, with your beautiful words, your beautiful openness, the amount of other, not only women, but men that will be able to hear what you had to say tonight, and in such an authentic way. You want to talk about being a signpost? There's some signposts right there in all your language tonight. So thank you so much. It was a real honour to have you on as our first guest.
Oh yes,
what a
kicking it off,
kicking off strong.
Yeah, and likewise, thank you guys for holding the space to make me feel truly seen, loved, valued, and held. You know, which is just beautiful. So thank you. I love you guys. You're amazing.
We love you too.
We love you too.
I'm going to cry.
Me too.
And on that note, we love...
Chinese guy still nearly got me, but that's definitely going to get me.
No.
All right, beautiful people. Well, this sounds like a beautiful place to wrap it up. So thank you, Hannah, for being here for this conversation.
Hannah, where can everyone find you if they want to connect with you? Yeah,
I've actually got a website, so I do coaching, breathwork, actually, which we didn't get into. Might be time for an encore sometime.
We can definitely have you back.
Cool. And yes, I've got my website is hannahbryan.co.nz. That's Bryan, Bryan. You can find me at Hannah Bryan on Facebook.
Beautiful.
And Hannah Bryan Coach NZ on Insta.
Beautiful. We'll have that all in the show notes so you can connect with the lovely Hannah. And she always loves a good chat. So.
Just mind your spelling.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you and hear you next week for more Journey with Michael and Ryan.
Love y'all.
Love y'all.